What's good, guys? There's been a lot of new gens, a lot of youngins in the Veilbound Discord, like more than 800, I think. So why not let's get straight to the education, the yappening. First of all, we'll start with like the basic stuff that make Veilbound, better. It's basic stuff everybody should know, right? First thing and foremost, there is no permadeath system, right? No permadeath. You can recycle slots and restart, as stated by Rips, but there is no permadeath as to where you can permanently lose characters through something like dying. Next, we have a problem that a lot of games like Veilbound face, which is very limited endgame content. Veilbound plans to release things like sieges, bindings for your aura, which is like, I guess you can call like oaths. Also not really oaths, just like powers to add on top of like your base character. Sieges, as I said before, they are like these giant things that pertain to your region which you come from. You can either fight for the north or the south in Veilbound. More about that in Infobound. Ooh, you should join it. Next up, we have bugs and poor moderation, right? A big problem that a lot of games have is how buggy it is, how poorly moderated it is. Like Deepoken, right? They got so many pedos in the freaking mod team, bro. Or like, it's so poorly ran. Luckily though, Veilbound, at least so far, hasn't had any problems with that, right? There was one diddler found out. They were like a leader of a faction in like closed community stuff. The second that was found out, gone. No excuses, no nothing, no harboring, gone. Instantaneously blasted off the face of Veilbound. Gone. Blasted away. Team Rocket was blasting off again, but they weren't making it back. Team Rocket is dead. Next we have stuff like bland ocean content. Guess what? There's no ocean. Can you believe that? Imagine you don't have to sail 30 minutes, not like 30 minutes, but like you don't have to sail like 5 minutes to get from one place to another. You know what you have to do? You go across a map that isn't the size of something humongous. You don't have to go across the Pacific, through the Indian Ocean, through the rest of the oceans to get to another place. It's going to be actually like a lot better because it's going to be split up into instances, which are really going to help optimization and make it run a lot better than Deepoken does currently. At least that's what I hear from a lot of the testers. A big problem in a bunch of other games too is very unbalanced gameplay, right? Veilbound listens to testers and the community very well, and all the testers have said pretty confidently, at least the ones I've talked to, which is at least 20 of them, that the game is pretty well balanced compared to games like Deepoken or Type Soul. And there might be a little bit of bias in there, but for there to be no complaints when I do hear a lot of crap talk sometimes, no complaints about balancing, is honestly really impressive because this kind of shows that they might be willing to listen to the community a little bit more. I know Deepoken has a big problem with not listening to the community. Type Soul did. Some other games did, and it was really bad, but Veilbound so far is making very good leaps and bounds to go out of their way to make sure that their players, or the people who can currently play, are very happy with where the game's at. First, let's talk about something that's like big in no matter what type of PvP game you play, right? Mechanics to catch runners, emphasis on like actual fighting and not like calculated retreats. I say with like some very heavy air quotes. Veilbound has something called air braking, where if you hold control and click M2, you can catch an opponent who's currently in air, and you can stop them from moving around as much. From my knowledge, it applies a speed debuff, and in general this is a really nice option instead of having to base your build around catching runners like you would have to with something like Deepoken. I'm not really sure about Type Soul, because Type Soul in my opinion is doo-doo. There's a stamina system that prevents people from just straight up spamming stuff 24/7, for example Aura. Every time you use Aura or something like that, a little bit of your stamina goes down, right? And every time you try to use mobility in combat, your stamina depletes really quickly. And when I say really quickly, I don't mean to a point where it's like it's way too much, but like at a good point where like if you're really trying to run away, you're not going to be able to escape. But if you're trying to like jump off walls real quick for like quick little combos, that'll be fine. There's also a food/buff spam contingency, where if you spam too many at once, you'll basically overeat and you'll get a bunch of debuffs. And it's not really like potion sickness from Deepoken when you puke and you keep on moving. It's more the fact like you will do less damage. Stamina might regen slower. You might have less posture. You might find it harder to chain stuff together because just in general you can't move as quick, or certain moves have longer cooldowns, or stuff like that to stop people from, running around and playing Trackstar Simulator and instead fight each other and improve at combat in general and actual combat where you're actually, trying to fight each other actively. And like I said, not trying to do these calculated retreats and make things harder and way more annoying. Let's also talk about something that also matters no matter what type of game you play, right? Optimization, baby. Fun fact, Ripped cares so much about this that he's recoded. Keep in mind, recoded the game 3 times for optimization, not cut some things out, not changed away some NPC's path, not slightly optimize one thing, but he's recoded the entire game 3 times for optimization. 3 times he's recoded the entire thing. And that alone is really impressive when he's trying to go towards better optimization, right? Because Deepoken's never going to be able to do that, right? A whole recoding of their entire game. Can you imagine how good Deepoken could run if they recoded the game just 1 time? He's done it 3 times over time, right? I've also spoken to over like 20 testers. All of them agree that their games all run really well. Even on really PCs. There's a guy with some 990 something, but it's like his PC is like 12 years old and he still runs Veilbound fine. And that's honestly really good for today's Roblox games because a lot of them require really good computers for a game that, if just well optimized, it'd run fine on majority, if not any computer, right? The only problem I've heard is a micro stutter here and there when certain moves are used. But Ripped is not only working on them for what I heard, but they're also really rare and usually never interfere with gameplay as a whole, because you'll probably get one like 1 time or twice during a fight, but it won't be like Deepoken where like once you get one, your game's over, or you're going to be running at 15 FPS for the next 5 seconds and it'll just screw you over. Other than that, I think optimization myself, as someone who's been here for like quite a few months now, is going in a really good direction. Because Rip's running it on like some Mac and like he's running it really well. Even streaming at max quality, his game doesn't seem to have any FPS problems and runs really smoothly. This will probably be one of the most interesting things that Veilbound will ever have going for it. Though at the same time, Veilbound is a really big game and seems to have a lot more interesting things too, so I might be wrong. But Veilbound has the most in-depth and interesting mobility system I've ever seen in a game with in-depth combat too, right? Probably the most in-depth one for an open-world RPG like Veilbound. It's one that's easy to learn, hard to master. I've made videos on it before. Go check them out, pretty please. But it's also hard, if not impossible, to use in combat since stamina drains insanely fast when using it, as stated before. So this leads it to being something that can be really useful outside of combat and really cool for exploring the in-game world, but also not something so overpowered that it can be abused in combat like something like in Deepoken. Because if I'm, slobbering over a guy and I'm beating him up, hit him with my axe, I'm like kicking him in the stomach, and he's low, he can just run away, heal, and come back. Run away, heal, and come back. And that loop can get really boring really quickly in these type of games because no one wants to do that. Let's be honest, nobody wants to do that. No, not a single person. Don't even lie. Don't even lie.
Do you want to go into the system we have for?
And the notes I'm gonna leave everybody off on is I honestly do recommend buying Patreon or boosting the server if possible, because if you do this, you get a chance to see like secret streams that he does, stuff that even like if you're not there for, right, you won't be able to see it all. It most likely won't be in sneaks like today, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna leak it, but he leaked weapons that looked so cool, and they've never been leaked before. They've never been in any patron sneaks, booster sneaks, public sneaks. And if you want to see stuff like that, drop $5, boost the server real quick, nothing crazy. And in general, help support the game, and that's about it. If you liked, subscribe, I'd appreciate it. I know, something. If you have any ideas for like stuff you guys want to talk about here, that's about it. Join Infobound. Have a good night, guys.